Dear students, today we are going to discuss Matthew Arnold's writing style. As you know, we are discussing Victorian age, and we have discussed very things regarding Victorian, and we have discussed Victorian poets' writing style, and today's our topic is Matthew Arnold's writing style. So, first of all, Arnold's classicism will discuss. Arnold tried to restore style, structure, and substance in his subjects and works. He learned from his loving masters, Greeks. He learned the fine bites of considerations to be subjected to the complete impressions of his work. Barron was pioneering trails of wonder in third decade of the century. Shelley and Keats covered in a lack of clarity during their lifetime. They were being restored in Victorian England by Arnold, a decent number of individuals neglecting to evaluate them, a wrong image that felicity of articulation was what their beautiful anonymity comprised. So Arnold, as a poetical reformer, enlisted his dissent against his look of rebellion. He was resolved to re-establish structure and form in poetry. In a letter, Arnold stated that at Oxford many students complained that the subjects treated in his poetry did not intrigue them. So, a true classicist, Arnold had a classical mind and sought to embody the Greek spirit in all his writing. His classical ideal was perfection within the limits. He had the classical tradition in his poem. So Arnold's style was more and more bent towards classical style of poetry, both in form and matter. He did not follow the romanticized structures, rather, he focused on morality through the forms and content written by Greeks. No, number second is nobility of expression. Clarity and gravity are the attributes of a real classicist, and the Arnold's style is described by these characteristics in contrast to the romantic artist. He was not a structure and a style searcher. In none of his poetic work there is a making progress toward influence of romanticism. Dufan says that Arnold's poetry shows a feeling of love. The writer's feeling must be awakened by magnificence. Arnold never comes up short in this regard. It is this that makes his poetry totally satisfying. Number 30, sense of color. Arnold is classicist, yet he is never obvious in regard to the feeling of colors and their sense. In a considerable lot of his letters and works, Arnold consumed Keats. However, unknowingly, he was a Keatsian. Keats has been known as a pictorial craftsman, one who paints with the pen rather than with a brush. Arnold is a pictorial craftsman. Number next, we are going to this symbolism. Yes, Arnold is certifiably not a symbolic writer like blank verse Yeats, T.S. Eliot are. In any case, every so often he uses images and references. The sea is a repetitive image in his poetry. He inclines towards evening glow to daylight, and the ocean to withdraws from the moon, whitened land with its despairing long and attracting thunder to the ocean. Free verse. Arnold might be viewed as the maker of free verse, or he made a few trials with the meter in the uh, later in the Rugby Chapel and the Henny Gravy. It is totally off base to assume that the analysis or the state revealer was presumably incited, somewhat by following of German and partly by old style, however, for the most part by the um, craving to appear as something else. Humoric smiles, last one. Arnold has utilized humoric smiles, similes in his poetry. Humoric or traditional similes are detailed point by point examinations giving an impressions or gloriousness, while requesting that the scholar gipsy fly the welcome of present day society. The writer utilize an able comparison. Arnold has been driven by his theory to praise the old epic and sensational verse of Greeks. It also has made room in this model for following his master, Homer. It has a much high as graphic loftiness. It was masterfully a challenging development and to end the peaceful with the analogy so detailed that was become confused in the image for the good of its own and overlook what is intended to represent. That's all.